Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. It started small. That's how most things start, right? You don't realize a fire's been lit until the smoke's already curling through the ceiling. At first, I just thought she was tired. Jessica had always been independent, headstrong, the kind of woman who didn't ask for permission or approval. That was one of the reasons I fell for her in the first place. But somewhere along the way, that strength twisted into something colder. Entitlement maybe. Arrogance. A casual sort of cruelty that crept into her tone like it had always been there. She stopped saying thank you. For anything. I'd pick up her dry cleaning. Not a word. Groceries. Barely a glance. She'd swipe my card like it was her name printed on it. Then leave the bags on the floor for me to unpack while she took selfies in the mirror. She always looked great. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that she knew it. Jessica strutted through the house like she was auditioning for a role in a life she didn't even want to share with me anymore. Her wardrobe got more expensive. Her nights got later. Her stories got vaguer. Oh, just a client dinner. With who? Don't worry about it. And I didn't. At least not out loud. I'd learned by then that asking too many questions only made me seem insecure. That's what she called it. You overthink everything, she told me once, while standing in front of the mirror adjusting a necklace I bought her. Maybe if you just chilled out, you'd enjoy life more. She said that with her back to me. She didn't even blink. I used to enjoy life. I used to enjoy us. But lately, our conversations had boiled down to money, sarcasm, and requests she didn't even disguise as suggestions anymore. The real shift happened on a Wednesday. It always stuck with me, just how normal that day started. I worked late, hit traffic on the way home, and walked in the door hoping, stupidly, that she might have cooked something. Or at least ordered in for both of us. She was already halfway through a glass of wine, lounging on the couch in a silk robe, one leg tucked under the other like she was waiting for someone else entirely. Did you eat? I asked, trying to keep it light. She shrugged. I wasn't sure when you'd get home. No follow-up. No, there's some left for you. Nothing. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and leaned against the counter. I texted you. She said, sipping her wine. I should have left it there. Should have changed the subject, talked about work or the dog or anything other than what was building in my chest. But something about the way she looked through me, like I was background noise, snapped a wire I didn't even know was fraying. You know, sometimes it feels like I'm just here to pay for things, I said. You live how you want, spend how you want, go where you want, but you never ask, you never check in. Like you think there's no price for any of it. She paused, turned to me slowly. Are you serious right now? She laughed, not amused, just offended. Do you think you're some kind of victim? I didn't say that. You're implying it. God, you're exhausting. I felt my jaw clench. All I'm saying is I feel like I'm being taken for granted. She stood up then, wine glass in hand, robe tied just tight enough to remind me what I hadn't touched in weeks. She walked past me to the stairs, stopping only once to toss a look over her shoulder that felt like a slap. Then maybe you should stop offering so much if you expect a damn receipt for it. She disappeared upstairs without waiting for a response. I stood there in the kitchen for a long time after that. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just me. And the sound of the ice maker clicking to life. I didn't follow her. I didn't text. I didn't apologize. That was the first night I realized something important. Something I hadn't been ready to admit before. She wasn't afraid of losing me. Because she didn't think she could. And that was her biggest mistake. She didn't bring it up the next morning. Not the wine. Not the conversation. Not the way she dismissed me like I was just some overworked employee in a house she happened to co-own. She poured herself coffee, scrolled through her phone, and asked if I could transfer money into her account. Not even a please. Just a casual request, like I was her personal banker. And I did it. Not because I was weak. Because I was done arguing with someone who had already decided my voice didn't matter. I figured if she wanted to act like nothing was wrong, I'd let her. I'd match her indifference, mirror it back, let her see what it felt like to talk to someone who wasn't really there. Over the next few weeks, I stopped offering. I didn't plan date nights. Didn't suggest dinners. I let her book her Pilates classes, get her lashes done, order clothes online, and I paid the bills in silence. And the less I said, the bolder she got. Late nights turned into full-on absences. She'd crash at a friend's, leave early Saturday morning for brunch plans, come back hours later looking like she'd stepped off a magazine shoot. Her hair was always perfect. Her lipstick always fresh. But her stories? Frayed. Disconnected. Too neat. You were at brunch until 8 p.m.? Yeah, Kelly had a lot going on. It turned into dinner. We had cocktails. Kelly just posted a beach selfie. She's in Miami. Jessica blinked. Smiled. Oh. Then I must have meant Michelle. And that was it. That was her entire defense. I started writing things down. Not like a lunatic. Just notes. Patterns. Places she mentioned. People she used as alibis. Times she left. Times she came back. Not to confront her, but because I knew something was coming. I didn't want to walk into it blind. It wasn't until the following weekend that I got my first real confirmation. I was at the auto shop waiting on a tire rotation when I ran into Marcus. He's married to one of Jessica's coworkers. We'd met a few times, exchanged numbers once over beers during a company Christmas party. Good guy. Quiet. Observant. He asked me how things were going. I gave the standard answer, you know how it is. Busy. Then he looked at me, really looked, and said, Hey, can I ask you something? Off the record. I nodded. Do you know a guy named Trevor? I felt something in my chest tighten. No. Should I? Marcus hesitated. He pulled out his phone, scrolled a bit, then turned the screen toward me. A photo taken at some kind of rooftop bar. There was Jessica, clear as day, sitting across from a guy I'd never seen before. Clean-cut, stylish, leaning in too close. This was last Thursday, Marcus said quietly. My buddy works security there. Said she's been in a few times lately. Always with the same guy. Thought maybe it was family, but nothing about that photo looked familiar. I stared at it longer than I should have. Not because I didn't believe it, but because some sick part of me wanted to find an excuse for her. Maybe it was a coworker. A client. Maybe she was interviewing someone for a project. But Jessica wasn't smiling like someone networking. She was smiling like someone who didn't have a damn thing to lose. I thanked Marcus. Told him I appreciated it. And as soon as I got home, I opened her calendar. Thursday, team dinner. Soho. Of course, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started doing exactly what she'd been doing all along. I kept my secrets. I pulled my attention away from her and started focusing on the parts of my life she hadn't infected yet. My work. My health. My peace. I got back into the gym, reconnected with old friends, cut out alcohol, and upgraded my wardrobe. She noticed. You've been acting different, she said one night, eyeing me over a bowl of quinoa she pretended to enjoy. You seeing someone? The irony nearly made me laugh. I've been seeing a lot more clearly, yeah. She narrowed her eyes. That's supposed to mean something? I smiled. I guess we'll find out. She looked unsettled for the first time in months. Not scared. Not guilty. Just unsure. And that's when I realized what made her dangerous wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the lying. It was the belief that she could do anything, say anything, and I'd always stay rooted in place, grateful for the scraps. But the game had changed. She just hadn't noticed the scoreboard yet. I didn't change everything overnight. That would have made it obvious. And Jessica didn't respect obvious. She only noticed subtleties when they affected her comfort. So I started small. The joint account? I stopped refilling it. Let it drain naturally. I didn't freeze it or raise any flags, just quietly diverted my direct deposit into a new, private account under my name only. She never noticed. Or if she did, she assumed it was a banking error. She was used to things just working. The second change? I stopped paying off her credit card every week. She'd always charge whatever she wanted, clothes, spa days, dinners out, and I'd settle it without a word. Now, I let the balance accumulate. Her reaction came 2 weeks later. Did you forget to pay Amex? I was slicing limes in the kitchen. I looked up, calm. No, I didn't forget. She frowned. Well, it declined today. I know. She blinked like she didn't understand the language I was speaking. I'll get it sorted, she said quickly. Just make sure you handle it tonight. I wiped my hands on a towel. Actually, you should probably start managing that one, since you're the one using it. She stared at me, half laughing. What is this, some new system? No, I said, walking past her. It's just a shift in accountability. She didn't follow me, but I could feel her watching, confused and irritated, like someone trying to solve a riddle with half the pieces missing. From that moment on, I made her work for everything she used to receive without effort. Need gas? Use your card. Hair appointment? Book it with your money. Brunch with the girls? Hope the girls are covering it. It didn't hit her all at once, but I saw the frustration bleeding through her voice, her posture, the way she started checking her phone more often when a transaction didn't go through right away. I was slowly turning the faucet off, and she had no idea which pipe to twist to make it flow again. Then came the social dominoes. Jessica had a reputation she liked to keep up, a curated version of our life that she paraded around on Instagram. Designer shoes on hardwood floors. Candlelit dinners she never cooked. Flowers I bought. Outfits she didn't pay for. She sold an image of marriage without the substance. But when the money slowed, the image cracked. I stopped showing up to her events. No more forced smiles at her coworker's birthday. No more pretending to be the doting husband at yet another wine and cheese mixer. People noticed. And they talked. It wasn't long before her cousin, Claire, reached out to me. "You okay?" she asked. I was caught off guard. Claire and I had barely spoken beyond holidays. "Yeah. Why?" "She's been different. She's saying things that don't add up." "Like what?" Claire hesitated. "She told a few of us you've been distant for months. That you've stopped trying. But we've seen her out. And she hasn't exactly looked like someone abandoned." She didn't say it outright, but the implication was clear. Jessica had been playing victim in one circle and party girl in another. She thought the stories wouldn't overlap. "I appreciate you telling me," I said. "Just don't let her rewrite the narrative before you get to write your side." That stuck with me. I didn't want a messy divorce. I didn't want to expose her to her family or wreck her carefully filtered persona just for the satisfaction of revenge. But I also wasn't going to let her coast. Not anymore. So I began preparing silently. I pulled financial statements, documented transactions, took screenshots of public posts that contradicted her excuses, recorded dates, times, and even synced her client dinners with Marcus-shared photos from that rooftop bar. I even called my lawyer, not for divorce papers, but to understand my options. I wasn't going to make a move without knowing exactly what I'd win, lose, and keep. Then came the final piece of the setup. I told Jessica I was planning a weekend away, just the guys, nothing dramatic. She barely looked up from her phone. "Have fun," she said. "You could use the break." The moment I walked out that door, I doubled back. Not far. Just 2 blocks over, to my friend Jonah's spare apartment, where I could park, watch, and wait. Sure enough, by nightfall, the trap was set. Trevor's car, same make, same tags, pulled into the driveway. She didn't even wait an hour. She let him in like he belonged there. Like the man she married was just a ghost she hadn't gotten around to exorcising. What she didn't know. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Letting her believe she could live without consequences was the kindest thing I ever did. Now karma was back on the clock. The thing about people like Jessica is, they never see it coming. They live like they're invincible, like consequences are for lesser mortals. As if loyalty is some outdated currency they're too sophisticated to trade in. But all it takes is the smallest crack, and their whole illusion starts to buckle. That crack appeared 3 days after Trevor left our house like a thief in reverse, taking nothing, leaving shame. Jessica had no idea I'd watched them. She had no clue that I'd followed Trevor afterward, that I'd tracked his address, that I'd discovered he wasn't just some guy from work. He was married, with a wife who had a name, a face, and a reason to answer when I knocked on her front door. Riley. That's her name. Trevor's wife didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just blinked when I showed her the photos, the screenshots, the messages Jessica had accidentally left open on our shared tablet, thinking I'd stopped caring enough to notice. Riley said one thing before she shut the door: "Let me know when it's time to bury them." I didn't ask her to explain, because I already knew. And karma? She doesn't send warnings. Jessica started noticing the shift that weekend. She tried to order something online, her usual spree of high-end nonsense, but the payment wouldn't go through. She called me. "Did you freeze the cards?" "No. I closed them." A pause. "What?" "They were under my name. I shut them down. You'll need to open your own." Silence. I could feel her indignation vibrating through the phone. She was stunned, not because I did it, but because I hadn't asked. Like she still thought she was owed my courtesy after everything she'd done behind my back. What am I supposed to do for the bachelorette weekend? I already RSVP'd. You could ask Trevor. I said it evenly. No venom. No raised voice. Just enough weight to flatten her ego. She hung up. That night, I came home to a scene that was almost comical. Jessica sitting on the floor surrounded by a dozen open purses, pulling out old receipts, expired cards, and coins like she was digging for treasure. The queen of appearances reduced to scraping together bus fare. I didn't offer help. I walked past her like she wasn't there. She followed me into the kitchen. Okay, what the hell is going on? You're acting like some smug bastard and cutting me off without a word. I turned, slowly. Without a word? Jess, I've been speaking for months. You just weren't listening. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the record, I added, you're not cut off. You're just accountable now. You're punishing me? No, I said. I'm setting you free. Isn't that what you wanted? I left her there, holding an empty Prada wallet. But the best part? That wasn't even the main event. That came 2 days later. Her cousin Claire invited us both to a family dinner. Jessica assumed, as usual, that I wouldn't go. She even told Claire I was busy with work and barely part of the picture these days. But I showed up, and so did Riley. Not on accident. Jessica didn't notice her right away. She was too busy trying to pretend everything was normal, laughing too loudly, sipping wine like a queen with no throne. But when Riley stood up, cleared her throat, and walked over to our table, the room dropped 10 degrees. Hi, Jessica, she said, smiling. Small world. Jessica blinked, faltered. I'm sorry. Do I? You know Trevor, Riley said. Your coworker? You could hear the air leave the room. Claire stared at Jessica. Jessica stared at me. And I? I just sipped my water. Riley leaned in, quietly but clearly. I just wanted to thank you. Your affair helped me realize I deserve better. We're separating. Trevor sends his regards. She walked away like a queen who'd just delivered a verdict. Jessica turned to me, pale, stunned. You set this up? No, I said. Karma did. I just RSVP'd. That was the first time she didn't have a comeback. No lie. No twist. Just a woman watching her kingdom crumble. She excused herself from the table and never came back. And as I sat there, finishing my drink while the cousins whispered and phones started buzzing under the table, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not revenge. Not triumph. Just stillness. Like I had finally stepped out from beneath her shadow. Jessica didn't come home that night. She didn't call either. Not that I was waiting. I watched her Instagram go dark. For someone who lived on stories and curated moments, that silence said more than any confrontation ever could. By the next morning, the text started. Not from her, no. From the people she used to command with a smile and a cocktail invite. Her best friend, Amanda. Hey. Did something happen? Jess isn't talking, but people are saying there was some kind of scene at dinner. Her coworker, Beth. Is it true she was with someone else's husband? Because, wow. And Claire, her cousin, the one who invited us in the first place. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I wouldn't have invited her if I did. You handled that better than I ever could have. The shame spread like wildfire. Quietly, ruthlessly. Because Jessica had built her image on being admired. Respected. Worshipped, even. And now? Now she was pitted. Or worse, gossiped about. She finally came home 2 days later, dragging a suitcase like she was the one who'd been exiled. Her makeup was gone, her eyes puffy. And for the first time in what felt like years, she looked real. Tired. Small. Human. I guess you're happy now, she said softly, standing in the doorway like a ghost begging to be let back into the living. No, I said. But I'm done pretending this was ever a marriage. She stepped inside, closing the door like it might protect her from what came next. But she had no idea I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. And that's worse. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she whispered. It was just. I felt invisible. So you made me disappear, I said. And now you're surprised I stayed gone. She sat on the edge of the couch, shoulders folded in. Can we talk? Really talk? I didn't answer. Not right away. Because I had been thinking about this moment. Not the revenge. Not the humiliation. But the choice. And now, it was time to make it. The first path? I gave her mercy. I told her I would file for divorce, amicably, without dragging her through court. No social media exposure. No email dumps. No financial audits. I'd even split things evenly. But on one condition. She'd sign a document admitting the affair and forfeiting spousal support. Quiet, private. Just for me. She cried when she read it. Not because of guilt, because she knew I had taken away her favorite tool, the ability to play the victim. I left the house the next day. And when people asked what happened, I told them, some lessons are expensive. But peace is worth the price. But what if I had handled it differently? What if I had stayed calm and played the long game? I moved back into the house. But this time, as her roommate. Cold. Cordial. Legally married. emotionally gone. I kept everything under my name, maintained control of every bill, asset, account. She lived there rent-free, but not cost-free. No intimacy, no access, no love, just the echo of what she destroyed. Eventually, she begged for the divorce. So I made her work for it. Years of court delays, strategic filings, controlled silence. And when she finally walked out for good, she was alone, broke, and a decade older in a dating pool that no longer cared for her games. She didn't just lose me. She lost time. Or maybe I invited her to dinner. One last time. Same rooftop bar. Same table. She showed up, fragile but hopeful. "I'm glad you called," she said. I nodded. "I just wanted to show you something." I handed her a folder. Inside, printed photos. Her with Trevor. Screenshots. Timestamps. Bank statements. A copy of the hotel receipt she claimed was for a solo wellness retreat. Her hands shook. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because I wanted you to know exactly what I saw. So you'll never get to lie about it again." She tried to explain. To cry. To backpedal. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and said, "This was never about what you did. It's about who you thought I was. You thought I'd never leave. You thought I'd never see." Then I walked out. Left her there, sobbing under dim lights, surrounded by strangers who didn't care. And me? I never looked back. Because the truth is, karma doesn't need to shout.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.